Shri Krishnam Tadanantaram Guru Papatmanam Trata Shri Krishnas Tvamalatmanam Raso vai Rasoyah Paramananda Ek eva Dvidha Sada Shri Radha Krishna Rupabhyam Tasyai Tasmai Namo Namaha Namah Kamalnabhaya Namah Kamalmaline Namah Kamalpadaya Namaste Kamalekshana Yo Brahmanam Vidhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedascha Prahinoti Tasmai Tagvam Hadevam Atma Buddhi Prakasham Mamukshura Vai Sharanamaham Prapadye. Dear devotees, the pad we will be chanting is Apnapan Rakhna Mere Ghanshyam. So let us first briefly understand the meaning of this bhajan. Apnapan Rakhna Mere Ghanshyam. Page number 87. Booklet number 1. So an aspirant, a sadhak, says, "O Sham Sundar, look upon me very own. Do not be formal with me. Ghadi ghadi pal pal naam tiharo, rate meri rasana mere ghanshyam. My sole desire is to sing your glories each and every moment. Lali lal do de garbahi hamare hiye basna mere ghanshyam. And may you always dwell in my heart, O my beloved divine couple, Shri Radha and Krishna. In that beautiful divine form with arms wrapped around each other. Bhav hi dore dari hiye main jhulaun nit jhulana mere ghanshyam. And then, seated in my heart, I will then rock you both gently on the swing of loving feelings, loving sentiments in my heart. Dai upahar har asuvan ko banalu tujhe apna mere ghanshyam. And in this way, O Sham Sundar, O Radha Rani, I will present to you a garland of tears flowing, a stream of tears flowing from my eyes. And in this way I shall make you mine forever. कैसे हूँ करी कृपालु प्रभु अपनो, पुरवो मम सपना मेरे घनश्याम। वो श्याम सुंदर, no matter how, please make this dream of mine come true. Fulfill this dream of mine. So let us sing a few lines and then we will discuss some important aspects of the philosophy. मेरे घनश्याम अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम। घड़ी घड़ी पल पल नाम तिहारो, 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 रटे मेरी रसना मेरे घनश्याम। रटे मेरी रसना मेरे घनश्याम। रटे मेरी रटे मेरी रसना मेरे घनश्याम। रटे मेरी रसना मेरे घनश्याम। अपनापन अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम। अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम। अपनापन अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम। अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम। लली लाल दो लली लाल दो दैगर बाही लली लाल दो दैगर बाही तुम्हारे ही बसना मेरे घनश्याम,
हमारे ही बसना मेरे घनश्याम,
अपनापन अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम,
अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम,
अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम,
अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम।
So in the last line, the saint poet Jagadguru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj states, in the words of the aspirant, the sadhak, O Shyam Sundar, please fulfill this dream of mine by somehow making me yours forever. Vast, extraordinary knowledge containing the essence of all Vedas and Shastras, and not to exclude his beautiful, heart-rendering, soul-stirring devotional bhajans and poems composed by him. So the Guru makes us aware, what is the ultimate aim of our life? Who are we? Who is God? Main kaun, mera kaun? What is our relationship with God? What is Maya? What is the nature of this material world? Why should we know God? How can we know Him? Etc., etc., etc. And furthermore, he explains to us the immense significance of this human form of life. So let us today reflect on this piece of knowledge, which we'll practice. Why is this human life so precious? You've heard this philosophy many times. You see, we all want life. We all want to live forever. We wish to exist forever. Why? Mamaivansho jivaloke jivabhutah sanatanaha. As Lord Krishna states, because we are the eternal fractions of God. What does that mean? God, and God is the form, the embodiment of Sat Chid Anand. He's referred to as Satchidanand. Anand means supreme happiness. We also know that death is an inevitable part of human life. It is an inevitable part of any form of life. Death is something we are all sure to face. And no one can escape. The scriptures say, आयुः कर्म च वित्तं च विद्या निधनमेव च पञ्चैतान्यपि सृज्यन्ते गर्भस्थस्यैव देहिनः. Hitopadesh. Ayu, the duration of life, action, the profession you will pursue in life, knowledge or education, wealth that you will inherit or attain, and the exact moment of death is predestined right from the time a child comes in the mother's womb. And yet, many of us harbor a fear in our mind and our thoughts regarding death. We are afraid to die. But having known this fact, we should not harbor any fear regarding death. And secondly, we must also realize that we are not just the body. We consist of two things, the body and the soul. The Vedas refer to us as Jivatma, the individual soul. In fact, it is the soul that gives consciousness to the body. So our true identity is that we are the soul, because the soul is eternal, unborn, undying, immortal. Whereas this body, this physical gross body, is perishable. It is temporary. It can come to an end at any moment. So our true identity is that we are the soul. As Lord Krishna reveals in the Gita, that the individual soul is unborn and eternal, similar to his source, God. The Vedas also illustrate this point. The Shvetashvatara Upanishad states, Gyāgyau dvāvaja vishanisha yeka bhoktri bhogyartha yukta anantaschatma vishvarupo hyakarta triyam yada vindate brahmametat. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 1:9. In the Gita too, the same point is emphasized. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. 220 Gita. Meaning, for the soul, there is never birth or death, nor having once been, in other words, nor having once come into being, does it ever cease to be. It is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying. It is not slain when the body is slain. In other words, it does not perish when the body perishes. Elsewhere in the Gita, it is stated, Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi drishtontas tvanayos tattvadarshibhi. 2:16. Meaning that we, Lord Krishna says, that we have been in existence since the existence of God, and God has been in existence as long as we have. In other words, we are beginningless, eternal. Just like our source, God. We will continue to exist in some form or the other. However, this body is temporary, as I mentioned. It is transient. It can be brought to an end at any moment. And yet, it is extremely valuable. It is very precious. Why? Because it is only in this human form that we can even practice devotion to God and be rewarded for it. It is only in this form of life that we have the opportunity to even work, to make an effort, to work towards fulfilling our ultimate dream. What is that dream? Our ultimate dream is to attain supreme happiness, unlimited happiness, everlasting happiness, and ever-increasing happiness. That is the type of happiness that we have been searching for since beginningless time, and will continue to search through every moment, through every thought, every moment, through every thought, through every action, through every desire of ours. And we will continue to search until the day, in fact, until the moment we succeed in attaining it. And this type of happiness is defined in the Vedas as Yovai bhuma tat sukham nalpe sukhmasti bhuma tvev vijigyasitavyaha. Chandogya Upanishad 7:23-1. So the Vedas define what happiness is. Real happiness, genuine bliss. They tell us that true happiness is infinite, unlimited, immeasurable, ever-existing, eternal, everlasting, ever-increasing, pratikshana vardhamanam. Such is the nature of this real happiness, true happiness. It can never be overcome by sorrow. Once acquired, once we attain it, we possess it forever. No one can snatch it away from us. Just as darkness cannot engulf light, it cannot overpower light. Or just as Maya, the material energy, cannot overpower God. In the same way, true happiness, genuine bliss, cannot be contaminated with the least amount of sorrow or suffering. That is the definition of happiness. That is real happiness. Tulsidas ji writes, Soi sukh lavlesh jin barik sapne hullayu te nahi ganahi khages brahma sukhahi sajjan sumati. If anyone were to taste even a particle of that divine bliss, Divyanand, Premanand, he is sure to forget. If anyone were to taste even a particle of that bliss, even in a dream, he is sure to forget even the bliss of the impersonal Brahm. That's the lowest level of godly bliss. Then what to speak of the mundane, the ordinary material pleasures of this world? And as for the little happiness that we do experience from time to time in the world, that is a mere reflection, the scriptures tell us, of the perennial happiness, bliss residing in God. And that is why we are constantly busy, always occupied. Our mind is constantly active, occupied in our endless search for this divine bliss. And this search is without a beginning, because we ourselves are beginningless. So getting back to our subject, this human form of life is referred to as karma yoni, meaning that it is only in this form, in the human form, that we are given the freedom, the power, and the intelligence to do what is called purusharth. Perform actions that will produce, that will render, that will yield results, fruits in the future, sooner or later. And what about the other yonis, the other species of life? They are called bhog yoni. In the other species of life, we can only bear the fruits of our past actions, the sweet or the bitter fruits of our good or bad actions performed in past lives as humans. So let me tell you a wonderful story from the scriptures. But before I do, Naraji, let me quote this one verse. In the Narad Puran, Naraji states, Durlabham manusham janma prarthate tridashairapi. That all living species of life, all living creatures, amongst the 8.4 million species of life that are in existence, all living beings, including celestial and heavenly gods, desire the precious human birth. Such is the value, such is the importance of this human life. There's a wonderful, wonderful story in the scriptures illustrating this point. Once, Indra, the king of heaven, desired to build a palace for himself. He ordered Vishvakarma, the great divine heavenly architect, to build a miraculous, a marvelous palace, such a unique palace. He said that the likes of which there will be no other, the likes of which there will be no other in all the three worlds. So now this palace was being constructed, and as it was being built, one day, out of his causelessly merciful nature, Bhagavan, God, assuming the form of a Brahman, appeared there and went to Indra. Bhagavan said, "What is happening? What is going on here? There's a lot of commotion going on. What is really happening?" Indra said, "Well, you see, I'm having a marvelous palace built for myself. After all, I am the king of heaven. It should befit my status, my high status." And the Brahmin said, "Yes, of course." And then shortly afterwards, the Brahmin pointed to an extremely long line of ants crawling on the ground. He showed to Indra, he said, "See those long line of ants, equivalent to miles and miles, several miles in length? Look at this. What's this?" He said, Indra said, "It's a line of ants, what else?" And Bhagavan, in the form of Brahman, said, "Yes, indeed, they are all ants. But did you know that all these ants, they all have attained, they have all sat on the same seat that you are sitting on right now? And not once, but countless times. in the past. Indra said, what? They have become Indra, the god of heaven. They have ruled all the heavenly gods, and afterwards they became these tiny, insignificant insects, ants, like ants. That can't be. He was astonished. They took the form of ants. And the Brahmin replied, yes, of course. What do you think? That once an individual soul becomes Indra, that he remains Indra forever and ever? No. He then again takes the form in lower species of life. He's hurled down from heavenly abodes to the material world. Once all his virtuous actions have been exhausted, the fruits of his virtuous actions are exhausted, he can no longer stay there. Tavat pramodate swarge yavat punyam samapyate. 11:10:26. Where does he go then? Hina taram va vishanti. To lower forms of life on earth. Indra. Hearing this, Indra was shocked. He started feeling detached. Suddenly he was overcome with some vairagya, detachment. Meanwhile, shortly afterwards, again with the grace of God, with God's inspiration, another sage by the name of Lomish Muni, a great ascetic, appeared before Indra. Now this Lomish Muni, this great sage, was carrying a kamandal in one hand, a begging bowl in one hand, and in his other hand, under his armpit, was a mat, a chatai, a small mat. And so Indra, when he received the sage, he welcomed the sage, offered his respects and did pranam to the sage, and then he said, "My lord, how can I serve you? Where have you come from? Where is your home?" And Lomish Muni replied, he said, "Well, Indra, you see, I do not have a home. I did not build a home for myself. I thought, why bother? It is such a short life. What is there a need to build a home? Whenever I feel sleepy, I spread my mat, I lay my mat open, spread it out, and I fall asleep. And whatever someone puts in my bowl, offers me, that is what I eat." And now, seeing Lomish Muni's body, it was quite noticeable, quite visible, that there were many fine hair follicles missing from the pores of his body in between, as if they were sprouted out. So, seeing this, Indra said, "My lord, that is a very strange thing. I notice that your skin pores are strangely opened. Your skin flakes, there are flakes of skin all over your body. What is the reason behind it?" Lomish Muni looked at his body. He said, "Oh, yes. Indra, you see, these pores of hair follicles that you see missing from my body are in fact..." But before that, Lomish Muni explained that, he said, for every Indra, for the duration of life of every Indra like yourself, every time an Indra expires, in other words, the duration of his life comes to an end, a hair follicle from the pore of my body automatically falls off. So all these pores of hair follicles that you see missing from my body are in fact the total number of Indras that have already expired before me during my lifetime. These are the number of Indras that have passed away during my lifetime. And once all my pores of hair follicles have fallen off, then my life will also come to an end. Now, Indra's head started spinning. He thought, oh my goodness. He started feeling dizzy. He said, so many lives, such a long life, equal to hundreds of the lifetimes of hundreds of Indras like myself, and he's saying, for such a short life, what is there a need for me to build a home? Indra was overwhelmed with Vairagya. He became completely detached. And as a result, he immediately ordered his staff. He said, stop the building of this palace immediately. Stop everything. I don't need it. I'm so insignificant. What is the duration of my life? It is next to nothing. And he proclaimed that I will now only practice devotion. I will only do bhakti. I will only worship God. That is my aim now. So he renounced his kingdom in order to practice devotion. But this was all now of no avail. You see, eventually what happened, Dev Guru, the story goes like this, Dev Guru, Brihaspati, the guru of all the Devtas, finally went to Indra and explained to him. He said, hey, listen, what are you doing? This is Bhog Yoni. Whatever you do in this life has no value. It is worthless. It is pointless. It will not give you any reward. You should have thought about this. You should have thought about doing bhakti when you had received the human body. At that time, you were too busy. You were too occupied. You were busy in working towards attaining worldly pleasures or celestial pleasures, and wasted that priceless human body. So what is the point of repenting now? When you are blessed with this human body in the future, ever again, then do not be careless. So in this way, eventually Indra, Brihaspati was able to convince Indra to come home, to come back. He says, for now, just do your duty. Assume your responsibility as the king of heaven. And Indra returned to his kingdom. So the point is that we have also wasted countless lives in this way. And will continue to do so unless and until we constantly reflect on the significance, on the precious value of this human life. The Vedas state, Iha ched dashakat bodhum prak sharirasya visrasah tatah sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvai kalpate. Kathopanishad 2:3-4. Utilize each and every precious moment of life towards your ultimate aim. Otherwise, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam, iha sansare khaludustare kripaya pare pahi murare भज गोविंदम भज गोविंदम गोविंदम भज मूढ़मते. You know the meaning? If you do not make proper use of this human body, you will be compelled to repeatedly take birth and die, take birth and die, hanging upside down in the womb of a mother, full of suffering, rotating endlessly in lower forms of life. So this is why in the last line of this bhajan, the sadhak, the aspirant is saying, O Sham Sundar, uplift me from the suffering of this material world by making me yours forever. Give me divine bliss. Fulfill this ultimate dream of mine and give me divine bliss. Divine love, Divya Premanand, divine love bliss. So with these words, Bole Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki, Srimad Sadguru Sarkar ki. So let us sing a few lines of the rest of the bhajan. अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम.
अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम.
अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम.
अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम.
भाव ही डोरे डारी ये मैं.
भाव ही डोरे डारी ये
भाव ही डोरे डारी ये मैं.
भाव ही डोरे डारी ये
झूलना मेरे घनश्याम.
झूलाऊं नित झूलना मेरे घनश्याम.
झूलाऊं नित झूलना मेरे घनश्याम.
झूलाऊं नित झूलना मेरे घनश्याम.
दे उपहार हार को
दे उपहार हार आसमान को
दे उपहार हार आसमान को
दे उपहार हार आसमान को
बना लूं तुझे अपना मेरे घनश्याम
बना लूं तुझे अपना मेरे घनश्याम
बना लूं तुझे बना लूं तुझे अपना मेरे घनश्याम
बना लूं तुझे अपना मेरे घनश्याम
कैसे हूँ करी कृपालु प्रभु आपनो
कैसे हूँ करी कृपालु प्रभु अपनो
कैसे हूँ करी कृपालु प्रभु आपनो
कैसे हूँ करी कृपालु प्रभु अपनो
पुरवो मम सपना मेरे घनश्याम
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 अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम
अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम
अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम
अपनापन रखना मेरे घनश्याम।
बोले वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की
जय।
श्रीमद् सतगुरु सरकार की
जय।
जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे।